They say you don't call Google Hangouts, you don't speed into the mic, you don't go respond to those work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. But I'm
we haven't even started the episode, and Brooklyn's already talking about A7 sharp chords and B7 Q chords.
Listen, Jim Croce likes his seventh chords and his E blues kind of stuff. And then sometimes you forget how to arrange the fingers, and it just doesn't. Sometimes it sounds right, but
yeah. All right. So with that being said, hey guys, welcome back to the Turntable. Episode 10. We actually made double digits somehow, Brooklyn.
Yes, we're now in like the midlife of shows in this
in this community. Yeah, we're at the halfway point. I think we actually have a really good collection of albums today, though. What do you think?
Yeah, we have some returning guests, and we're getting to the point in the show where people are getting familiar with others' tastes. So I think there's a little more curation as to like, hey, I think this group of people would like this album based off of like other stuff and whatnot. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into the list.
Cool. Real quick, because we're gonna get this. What did you bring to the table today?
I brought "Not for Sale" by Kardinal Offishall. Some would consider to be Canada's greatest rapper.
I mean, there's not many other options, to be honest with you there. Next, we have someone that we haven't seen since episode 1, but he's one of our favorite people. That's Bill Cariola. Bill, how you doing, man?
I'm super good. How are you guys?
Doing all right, thanks. What did you bring to the table today?
I brought. There will be no history lesson like there was the last time. I just simply brought one of my favorite records. So I brought "Simpatico" by Velocity Girl.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Then we have what I think Brooklyn would consider our honorary third lead host.
Yeah. It's like when we need somebody, or it's like, hey, who's like probably the best person that we've had on the show for to like just kind of talk about music. It's Rue. It's not Rue.
What's up, Rue?
Hey, I'll take it. I won't tell anybody, Brooklyn, that you messed up whatever you were messing up. It gave me extra time in the bathroom before coming back. So don't worry about it. It's all good. Nobody knows.
Rue, what did you bring to the table for us today?
I brought an album which I've actually already talked thoroughly about with Brooklyn, but anytime I can talk about it, I will talk about it from here to eternity. It is Lupe Fiasco's "The Cool" by Lupe Fiasco.
Nice. And we have a special guest today, a good friend of mine, friend of the show, singer, songwriter, all-around fantastic musician. That would be one Rae Radick. Hey, Rae, how you doing?
I am so well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Not bad. What did you bring to the table today?
I brought James Taylor's Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Nice. I'm glad that you clarified that. I'm going to have to put that in the banner later. Well, I'm going to be starting us off for this episode because I brought Screen Violence by CHVRCHES. And just because I'm not currently at my place doesn't mean that I'm not going to do the thing where I bring out the vinyl. I did the thing. So Screen Violence is CHVRCHES' fourth album. Their first two albums were mostly like all electronic based kind of music. And then they kind of made like a pop turn with having Greg Kurstin produce their third album, which wasn't necessarily great. So they kind of swerved back into producing their own stuff for this album with Screen Violence, where they started to add a lot more organic instrumentation on top of their electronic instrumentation. And I thought that was a great move for them. This was made during the COVID era when Lauren Mayberry was based in California and the rest of the band was back home in Scotland. And I think that it added a lot of extra stress to the group that you can feel in the lyrics that used horror movies as a metaphor for internal struggles and anxiety and stuff like that, which I think it does incredibly well with songs like Final Girl, referencing like like the stereotypical final girl, in place of feeling like the rest of your artist friends have moved on from being artists into like other things, and feeling the pressure of maybe I should just go and get married, and maybe I should like change my accent and things like that. To He Said, She Said, which is a song about gaslighting, and being in a very controlled relationship, and the stress and anxiety of that. And I think that it's just like a beautiful sounding album with just like great singing by Lauren Mayberry. She's such a talented vocalist. Martin Doherty doesn't sing as much as he does on the other albums, but his added vocals really do add such great context to these songs and this music. I think that this is a fantastic album from one of my favorite acts working today. They're such a great band in concert too. But with that, I'm going to open the floor to everyone else and get your thoughts on this album.
Bart, am I going to do your job again and ask?
Oh, yes. Has anyone heard this album before doing this episode? No. Okay. I didn't think so, but thank you. I do it every goddamn time.
I'll go first, I guess. So the opening track, "Asking for a Friend," reminded me a lot of "Endless Summer" by the Midnights. Whenever we had Corey Roper on, like that very like synth rock or synth pop, I guess, heavy sound, sort of synth heavy kind of sound. And then it has this nice sort of progression where it goes almost like, I wouldn't say it's like metalcore, but it's definitely harder. They kind of progress into more rock elements.
Especially on Nightmare.
Yeah. The fun little fact I like to give, one of our biggest red flags here is that we always try to make like the Islander connection. Like if there's anybody from away, it's like, all right, well, like how can we connect you back to here? We can't do that with CHVRCHES because Lauren, the lead singer, actually used to work in PEI. She worked in one of the popular college bars here. So anytime, the owner at the time, anytime that she so remember whenever CHVRCHES did their acoustic, their Tiny Desk concert, he was kind of pushing that. It's like, hey, like this person like used to work here. So it's always nice to have that little connection. But yeah, I like the writing in this song. I thought Lullabies was a really cool one. Nightmares was a nice little kind of change of pace. Better If You Don't is a really, really good closer. Like where you get kind of the both of them and whatnot. There's some like really heavy moments that I like in this. I think the title track, I guess, Violent Delights, is another good one as well. But yeah, the first this is kind of a popular trend, I guess, with a lot of these albums, or any time that we kind of go through this. The first time I wasn't as sold. I thought the first half was a little bit weaker, but then coming around on the second time, I was like, all right, I can now get into the lighter side of this album.
I just kind of want to bounce off that real fast. I always thought that the first half of the album was the stronger half of the album. So I'm honestly a little surprised to hear that you the opposite. But anyone want to go next? Just hop on in. All right, I'm about to start naming people. Rue, let's go to you.
Yeah, I'll go here. This is not for me, unfortunately. However, I did not mind it. I did not mind it.
Brooklyn ejected immediately.
It's gone. This will not be the first time I'm down today, but I'm sorry. I'll say it like this. This is more for just what would you call this? Alternative, maybe?
Alternative. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Usually like electropop is where they usually land.
More electropop. When I started listening to the album, I was like, they must have been influenced by Ellie Goulding a lot. Because that is who I heard again and again and again. And I only listen to Ellie Goulding every once in a while. She's cool. This is more of not for me just because it's not my kind of music. I really, really like How Not to Drown.
Yeah.
That was a really cool break in what kind of seemed a little monotonous for my taste. But again, this is just because I probably don't listen to as much electropop or alternative as a lot of other people, so it's really hard for me to differentiate between them. But I really got the Ellie Goulding connection right at the beginning, and I was listening to it. I was like, all right, this sounds very similar to the next one. Sounds very similar to the next one for me. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a lot harder for me to get into lyrics or trying to like break down what's going on if a lot of stuff sounds the same, especially for a genre I don't listen to as much. But not gonna say it wasn't good. Just gonna say this is probably a little less my style and something that I was like, I'm not gonna run this back. So for me, it was kind of like a one-time listen. I shuffled the songs to see if I could differentiate, and I was like, "There's How Not to Drown Again." That one I remember.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention this. They don't normally have guests on their albums. Usually, it's like just them, and for like the one guest to have on this album, for it to be Robert Smith of The Cure, like that's a big grab. That's a big grab right there because I don't think he does a lot of like guest vocals. So I just like that little bit there. Bill, let's go to you next.
Okay, so this is a band I jokingly refer to as CHVRCHES constantly.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
all the
time. I'm like, it's one of those things where I saw the spelling. I'm like, oh, this is probably hipster nonsense. I'm almost sure of it. Like,
How
what is
dare
this?
you?
Like, I felt like I wasn't wrong in my initial but anyway, it's fine. But I threw it on the first time I listened to it. I was like, you know what? This is surprisingly catchy. And it good 2 or 3 listens, and I was like, okay, I'm feeling this one. Now I heard snippets of the previous,
definitely give
I heard snippets from the previous album, and I think that's kind of what soured me because I just was not feeling any of that. It just was like nothing really about it grabbed me. And then hearing you say that like they brought in producers and they try to like jazz it up, and this time they kind of jettisoned all that, and you can really hear the craftsmanship come through. Also, having Robert Smith show up in your album pretty much puts you in the cool book. So I was like, okay, fascinating, and lends so well to that song. Not my favorite song on the album, surprisingly enough, but no, that is like I always like hearing dual sex, like trading off of vocals a lot. You'll find out a little bit about that in like 2 albums from now. But yeah, no, this was actually a real delight the more I listened to it. It's one that grew on me. And if it continues like this, I'd probably more consistently check these guys out. Also using a lot of like horror motif for your symbolism. Yeah, cool. I can get on board with that. So yeah, absolutely.
They did. I think there is a remix of Good Girls that John Carpenter made. So I
can
feel
see
like
that.
you really like that. Yeah. Ray, what are your thoughts on this one? I'm very curious about this because I feel like you could go either way.
Yeah, I actually really liked it. I love the world that they create with their album. It almost felt like a cave-like atmosphere, like everything just kind of the world just felt bigger listening to it. And I was listening to this album when I was working out and I was going for a run, and it totally helped me pump up. So I love that. I love how they were able to kind of move my emotions while I was doing something. The one that I liked the most was He Said, She Said. I just thought it was really catchy. I can still sing it back right now, whereas opposed to some of their other songs, couldn't really tell you much about them. But for me personally, I love the sound. I'm not really familiar with Ellie Goulding, so I can't really comment on that. But
She does that one song, you know the lights don't stop me,
yeah,
turn to stone. That one.
I know her song from 50 Shades of Grey. But
Love
right?
you like you do.
Yeah. But again, it creates that atmosphere of just like there's this like almost spiritual, bigger experience that was happening, and I felt that through this whole album. So, and I love her voice. Interestingly enough, it wasn't. My ear didn't really go to the lyrics. It was more or less the sound, and it was more or less her voice, her voice kind of reminded me of like she would be Haley, what's her name? Haley
Haley
from
Williams.
Paramore. It would be like her cousin. Like clear tone, beautiful mix, great up and down register. And
She's
she
one
kind
of the only other people that they've done guest vocals with.
there you go. Makes sense. Oh, how did I know that? But yeah, so interestingly enough, I just like the atmosphere that they created. Couldn't tell you much about the lyrics. I didn't even care at that point. But I think this was probably my favorite album of all of them.
Let's go.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, so I think with that, we are going to wrap this one up. I am giving this album, what did I write down my score was? I'm giving this album an 8.6. I think that they're adding some organic instrumentation to the synth pop kind of electronics was such a great touch. It just added that extra atmospheric element to everything, especially the drums on Violent Delight. That one being my favorite song on this album. I think that the drum work on that song is just absolutely fantastic. And the way that she belts out that chorus is just so powerful. But I do want to shout out He Said, She Said, because that one hits me emotionally. My least favorite song on this album is actually Lullabies. Lullabies, having listened to like all of their other songs from all their other albums, that one just kind of blends in with some of their weaker songs. So that's why I don't really tend to gravitate towards that one. Let's go to Brooklyn.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give this an 8. I had a really good time with it. I'm gonna agree with Rue though. How Not to Drown is my favorite track on it. I just really like the chord progression. I'm a sucker for anything that kind of starts in B minor or has that like. It reminded me a lot of like Comfortably Numb, like that like heavy rock, but then also like if anybody remembers like Skillet, they're kind of like a Christian-y kind of hard rock band. That's similar kind of sound, and like Lauren's vocals are kind of similar to hers. My least favorite is actually going to be California, and I think the reason why is you can start to hear that organic instrumentation, but they're still kind of leaning on like the synth side of it. And it's like, I kind of want it like they eventually make that transgression, or they make that progression rather. But when I hear that song, it's like, all right, I want to get to the rest of the album.
Okay. Let's go to Rue next.
Brooklyn and me are Simpatico right now because How Not to Drown.
No, we're talking about Simpatico later.
That's true. That is very true.
All right, that's my time, folks. All right.
Same songs. How Not to Drown is my favorite. California is probably my least favorite. It stuck out the same way, but in the opposite direction. Where like I said, it was Ray's right. It was a vibe. It was like a pure vibe. It was kind of didn't really get into the lyrics. And California was the one that stuck out. It was like this sound like what they needed for the radio. And not like blending as much in with the rest of it. As down as I am on it, it's not really that I'm down on it. It's more it's not for me, but I recognize like everything Ray said in terms of the vibe really hits. If this is your kind of music to listen to, I can see really loving it. So I'm giving it about a 6.7. So like not horrible. Just not something I would listen to on the record.
Bill.
So I'd probably go 7.5 to 8. I found this actually quite enjoyable. I kind of agree with everyone's sentiments. Like overall, like sonically, it's just like this is the kind of thing I kind of lean towards nowadays. So I really enjoyed it. Adding in some organic instrumentation was also a huge plus. Also have Robert Smith. Not gonna bang that drum enough. Is a quick way to my heart. I will say Final Girl was actually my favorite track.
Yeah.
I really love that song. It's so catchy, and it's just the chorus and the imagery it conjures up, I think is like really fantastic. And for once, bar Me and You, Lullabies, I think kind of sinks the album for me. Like just as a whole, I just like it doesn't mesh well with the rest of it for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I
would. Yeah, so I'd go 7.5. 7.5, I would say. Yeah.
I like what they tried to do with Lullabies by putting Nightmares immediately after that.
Yeah.
But a
little too on the nose.
Yeah, a little bit.
For me, I give it an 8 out of 10. As I said, my favorite song was He Said, She Said. I just love that one. And for me, Lullabies just felt like the record company was like, hey, we need 12 tracks on this album and you only have like a solid 11. Give us another one. And they just like stuck it in there.
Yeah, I can feel that. All right. So with that, we're actually going to head over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, tell us more about Not For Sale.
So Not For Sale, I believe, is either the 4th or the 5th studio album. It was the first album that had been produced or had been like kind of released outside of Canada. This is actually the first time. So like before this album, like he had just been signed to Akon's record label, and then he put out this album, and then the big single that came off of this was Dangerous, the one that he did with Akon. It's a big hit here. So Kardinal's from Scarborough, which is kind of like in the greater Toronto area. But his parents are Jamaican, and you hear that in his music. The general thing I find with Canadian hip hop is they lean into the more dancey kind of stuff. Like I've never heard a Canadian hip hop song and be like, oh, like these lyrics are like really biting something similar like that you get with NWA or like Dr. Dre, like that real harsh kind of sound. Like everything is pretty bright and lighthearted for the most part. But I just funny that I say the bite. Actually, I really like his swagger and his confidence, and you really get that sound in it with this album. Burnt, I think, is an incredible record to open with. Just that beat in general. Then you have Set It Off, Dangerous being the number 3 track. Digital Motown is another good one. Rihanna just pops up on this album. She does the Tide is High sample with number 1. I do think that this isn't that, like, there are a couple of misses, I guess. My biggest gripe with this album is when he tries to do the slower stuff, it just doesn't like quite work. Like Nina's okay, like that kind of like that bass reggaeton kind of sound that hasn't really like aged well, knowing how much that got used later on in the 2010s. But there's some really cool lines in this. In Going In, or no, it's not Going In. And Give Me Some. Somebody told me that I couldn't do it. That's why I do it to death. I'm Grim Reaper, fresh with every last breath. And then in Going In, I think Rue will really appreciate this one. New York got me more than Spike Lee because I leave nicks on your face if you spite me. Just yeah, like the confidence and the swagger that he has, and these like wails and kind of screams fit perfectly for the vibe that he's going for. These very kind of dancey kind of ones. I did not listen to this album beforehand. I only knew Dangerous and a bit of number 1. But yeah, this is a really cool time. And I hope everybody else enjoyed it.
I'm going to start. This is the most 2008 album I've ever heard in my life.
You're not wrong.
This has every single production choice that screams 2008. From the A's to some of the synth choices.
Radio Killer.
So when I started this album, I was like, okay. Like 2 or 3 songs in, I went, okay, so this is mostly songs that are kind of just like bangers. And here's my thing. If you're going to make an album where most of your songs are going for that, and you're not really going for like a whole album experience, your album better flow. And it's an hour long. And I don't think it earns its runtime. I think if you cut a few songs, maybe this is like a little bit better. I actually kind of disagree with you about Nina. I really like Nina. That one.
Bar, have you heard this album before? Has anybody else?
God dang it! Anyone heard this album before?
Even the guy who submitted it hadn't heard it before. So yeah, we're all on a journey in 2008 together. It's fun. I was in the middle of a divorce. This depressed me.
Nina, I thought was really cool. The other big problem I have with this album is that I wish that they had separated the skits from the actual songs.
Yes,
because some of them go on for too long. Like that first one just goes on for like a minute and a half, and like 45 seconds of it is the exact same rambling. However, when this album hits, it does hit. Some of those songs truly are bangers. And then there are moments where he does like bring out like a serious side of him for like "Do Me a Favor," that song in particular, and I thought it was pretty effective. And then they tack on like a 2 minute and a half bit at the end, which was good, but it kind of killed it. And then there's one that, oh my god, there are two songs on this album that kind of pissed me off. One of them I'll get to when we go over favorite and least favorite, but the other one being "Gimme Some," I was like, come on, some of these lines are just bad. I mean, like, it's just straight up bad. But yeah, so like when this album hits, it hits and it does exactly what it's intending to do. It's just a little bit too long, and there are some moments that you could have cut out.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll pick up.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Bill. Bill,
No,
go ahead.
okay. So just a heads up, a little bit about me. I am not invited to the cookout. Clearly. All right. It's fine. It's totally
I'm not
okay. I understand. That having been said, I think I've had a little more fun with this album than you did, even though this was extraordinarily very dated for the time and place that it came out. But I liked a lot of old like ska, a lot of reggaeton, like that kind of stuff. And there definitely bleeds through in this. And those are the times where I had the most fun. I am really upset that Dangerous has re-entered my head because I heard that song a million trillion fucking times in 2008. And like, it was like, I can't describe just how it's never going away again. And then as soon as I heard, I was like, I forgot about this song, and now I'm gonna fucking sing it forever. I'm
now
still
I can put a
pissed
name to
for this one.
This.
Why are we doing this? I can't. But there was some surprises. I actually like the interpolation for Illegal Alien. I thought that fit the song real well, and that's just a fun, just rhythm that I feel. Some props for this one.
Okay.
So,
There you go.
yeah, but no, it is super cat and it fits the vibe that they're going for. But like you, yeah, one of my favorite records is to just paint a picture here is De La Soul is Dead. I love De La Soul is Dead.
Hell yeah.
It's just got some of their best stuff that is weighed down by too many dumb skits that really, really screech everything to a halt. And that happens here more than it should. I feel like with a different producer and maybe just to help with the vision and kind of like focus it a little better, this probably would have been like a damn near classic. But there's just too many times in there, and we'll get into that, where I feel like it just veers off, and it's just not for me. But the times that it does, I'm like, yeah, this is something I can get behind. Yeah, absolutely. Also, nice to hear Rihanna again. She's missed. So yeah.
She is. Yeah, I'll jump in here. I was definitely wearing size XXL shirts and baggy pants again. Snapping and rolling and lean with it and rock with it again took me right back to high school. The thing about yes, high school. I said high school, Bill.
Oh God.
Remember, there's way younger kids than me in this community, so it's not that bad. At least I was born.
I was fucking 30.
Oh, I love you, Bill. You are invited, by the way.
Okay.
But the funny thing about Kardinal for me is I knew Kardinal before this with Bacardi song. And when he came out, I didn't really consider him a rapper primarily. I considered him a dancehall artist. So like saying like Nina kind of slowed it down for you, it's the opposite. Anytime he went to the dance hall, the reggae roots that he's definitely a rapper, but I kind of connected that with him more than hip hop. So anytime he went that route, it sounded more natural to me. It sounded like more like what I am used to him, and like everything else, T-Pain, The Dream, Akon, Rihanna, it was like it was felt like he needed the radio hits. He needed the exposure to get out to people because not many people knew who Kardinal was. So this was definitely got out. It was so bad. I have remember Dangerous. I didn't remember it was Kardinal. I didn't. I just thought it was Akon, and I was like, oh my God, that was him, wasn't it? Wow.
So funny enough, I was listening to this. I was like, hey, like I'm with Beyonce Knowles. We're just jealous. Like, hey, this is really funny. So this is the album. And I'm like, and I forgot about this song fucking completely. And I played it. She's just doing this so she hears it. Oh, is this a remake? I'm like, no, this is his song. I was like, I thought it was somebody else.
And so I'm gonna make a comparison, which like it's the biggest thing that goes in my head, though I think that other artists does it at a much higher level. It reminds me of B.O.B., where B.O.B. is an amazing rapper. And his first album, The Adventures of B.O.B., I really love, but it gets a little bit into the pop, hip-hop realm a little, but just the perfect mix. And then his next album really, really goes a little more heavy in that. And I'm sitting there like, dude, you're a really, really amazing rapper, and you're kind of, I'm gonna just use it. You're dumbing it down a little bit for radio hits, and it's still cool and it's great to listen to, and you have a lot of fun with it. But it's herky jerky. It's really surface level, and having that long of an album with that many different songs, inputting the dance hall that I know you for, that like I feel like you shine a lot more. It does hurt the album. But I still had a lot of fun with it. And I will say one of my first albums I ever grew up with, ever listening to, was Fuji's The Score. And I'm used to the skits coming right after. So I love those. Getting skits right after songs, that just went to my heart. And I was like, beautiful. I've missed those. So I know y'all didn't love it, but I did because it was there for me. It took me home.
I just feel like if for some reason, just like, if I knew that they were coming, if like they had like little moments where they were like their own thing on the album, I just feel like it would work better. But that's probably just a me thing. Ray, what about you? Oh, you are muted.
Muted.
Sorry. I was also in high school when 2008 was a thing. Oh my God. So interestingly enough, though, is I never really delve into these types of songs and these types of artists. So this was kind of like a new world for me. I remember Akon was like at our prom and stuff, but like I didn't actually listen to it. So it was really nice to kind of go back as an adult and like hit that inner teenager world again. The things that I really appreciated that I've never heard before was this guy was mixing together rap, reggae, and like a big ass horn section.
Yeah.
Like he has got like these, like I've never heard a rapper go so hard on a horn section, but like it worked. And I love how he blended all of them together. And then when I was looking up his lyrics, I love the fact that he would play with some of the words and the spelling. I think he has I really like him as a writer as well. I was never familiar with those interludes that we keep going back to until Justin Bieber put out his Justice album. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So when I heard this, it kind of like all brought it back to me. And I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I didn't mind them as much. I do agree with you, Andrew, that some of them went a little too long. And I was like, okay, dude, I get it. I get what you're saying. But I do like them. I think it brought a different flavor. And I think it was a nice ear break before we went back into like another song where it like got pretty heavy. But yeah, overall, I think he's like a really cool, interesting person. And it was really nice to rediscover him like 15 years later.
Honestly, the moment Dangerous came on, I went, this fucking song.
I thought it was like Ja Rule or something.
Imagine being in Canada and there's a rule that you have to play 10% of radio songs have to be Canadian. And that was one of them.
That was
by the way, thanks, because that's how we got fucking Nickelback. We still haven't forgiven you for that.
Bill, the internet actually seems to love Nickelback now. So
the internet's wrong.
Netflix loves Nickelback. They just put out a documentary about why.
Yeah,
Nickelback
Netflix also cancels all your favorite shows, just to be clear, and they're on their 8th season of Too Hot to Handle. Is that really where you want to go for like cultural goodness? Think of that.
Brooklyn.
I need to get a drink before we do the review, so I'll be back in 1 sec.
Okay, go ahead. We'll go to you last. I think this is a good place to wrap this up. So Brooklyn, give us your score and your favorite, least favorite.
Yeah, so I'll give this an honest score. It's a 7.5. I think we kind of alluded to it earlier. Where it hits, but there are some things like the little skits. One thing else that I kind of forgot about is it's not on every song, but there's a lot of them where they'll let the beat go on for like an extra like 4 or 8 bars afterwards, and it's like I get this if it's like epic rap battles of history where you're kind of like having like that outro and like trying to move it on to the next thing, but it's kind of like it's longer than it needs to be. My favorite was like one the Bill was alluding to earlier, Illegal Alien. I like that like weird sort of sound and like just the chorus in it, like the weird kind of strain he has on his voice. Just take out the skit part of that, and I think it's great. My least favorite is honorable mention to Go Home With You. I don't like the mesh up with him and T-Pain. It just sounds kind of flat. But then Gimme Some is actually going to be my least favorite. Kardinal is the best part of that song. The problem is that when the dream comes in on the chorus and does those like oohs, that just kills all momentum that the song has. And it's a shame because Kardinal, like, that's some of his best performance.
Let's go to Rue next.
Funny you mentioned the 8-bar, like 4 8-bar ending of the song, because I vividly remember the change in hip hop where all songs ended with the beat riding for like 8 to 10 bars and fading out, and then all of a sudden, Where the Party At with Nelly and Jagged Edge just ended the song. And like my aunt was like, "Why are you ending the song? Why now?" And then every song after that just ended. So it's really hilarious to me that you bring that up, because I remember vividly that change in music to the end of hip hop and R&B songs. Again, really, really right here. I'm also at a 7.5. As much as like I lambast the going more mainstream without depth, because you can go mainstream and still have depth. I still enjoyed the album. I like, again, you put Kardinal in there and I yelled, "Kardinal, let's go," because I haven't heard him in a really, really long time. I am going to say I don't really have a big standout, because every time a song hit, I think the chorus probably usually got me in that mindset of like, this chorus could have been better. But anytime you got the clips on a song, there's no one. So my top one is Set It Off. Good Pusha T, Malice. My top one is Set It Off, because having him on a song just elevates it at least a good 2-3 points. My least favorite has got to be the one that is the epitome of mainstream hip hop without going any further than having Rihanna on there, and it's number 1. I heard that and I was like, a sample of an old song with Rihanna not at her greatest, and you sing-songing it.
Put some respect on that song, at least.
Not on her greatest doesn't mean she's great, but that sounded like first year Rihanna and not the Rihanna we have now. And I was just like, I'm good with this.
Let's go to Rae.
You literally stole all of my notes. Yes. My favorite song was Set It Off. My least favorite was number 1. I thought it was such a cop-out. Like, that song in general is not that strong. And then to like remake it, like there's so many other songs they could have chosen. So like I totally agree with you. I gave this a 7.3 out of 10. But yeah, that's all I got. I agree with you.
I feel like I might be the one giving this album the lowest score. I'm giving it a 6.8.
That's not like that far off, though.
No, it's not that far off. It's just I'm not used to being the curmudgeon when it comes to scores. Usually I'm kind of like one of the nicer people. And yeah, Illegal Alien was clear standout for me because like I just like the writing on that was great. The delivery, as you said, the way he would like twist his vocals was just like so interesting. You add a theremin to anything and immediately I'm kind of like, ooh, I like that. God, number one, Titus High is so bad. It's so bad. It is the most shoehorned. That remember when there were like I don't remember what they were called, but there were like those electronic toothbrushes that would play music as you were brushing your teeth. I feel like it was designed for that and that specifically.
Wow.
Yeah, the Tide is High is one of those songs I'm starting to realize is untouchable. You can't do anything else with it. And this song kind of was like the death nail in the coffin for me when it came to that opinion. So yeah, that was clearly my standout for worst one. Bill.
Yeah, we're gonna go. So I actually went a 6.5. So
Oh, okay.
I did enjoy some of it, but when I didn't enjoy it, I really didn't enjoy it. Y'all didn't bury Dangerous enough. I'm sorry. You just didn't. I did need to be reminded of that one. You know, it was like when I was at a fucking CVS the other day, and the Ja Rule like fucking Jennifer Lopez song "I'm Real" started playing. I'm like, I didn't need to hear that ever again. I'm like, I was done with that because I heard it a million trillion fucking times. This did it again. So you know, I'll listen to the Tide is High a fucking 100 times compared to that one. I'm sorry, I don't need to hear Dangerous again. I just don't. I'm sorry. That having said. I think the one song I go back to the most is oddly enough, Bad Like We Bad. I fucking love that song. That is just absolutely my jam. It's just dirty and raunchy and just like get into it. I'm like, yep, I feel this one. So that was me. That was for me. So
all right. Well, speaking of you, Bill, you are going to be next with Simpatico by Velocity Girl. Tell us more about this one.
Okay, so the last time I was here, I brought in a landmark album, and I had a huge history lesson. I will not be doing that this time around, but I did do some research, just so we're clear. So the reason why I picked this one is actually quite simple. This is like one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time. I bought it like when it came out, and it's one I constantly go back to. So I will put a little history on this. So Velocity Girl was actually formed from Washington, so they're almost in Canada, Brooklyn. So there you go. There's your feather in the cap for today. They kind of toured around the DC area a lot too. They were like big in the Maryland scene, the late 80s, early 90s, and they started picking up a lot of buzz. And they were ended up signed to Sub Pop, like the label that churned out God knows how much stuff from like indie rock of that era, and they released their first album, Copacetic, which was oddly enough very well received. It's a really good record. It is very heavy on the shoegaze and the noise, and it works, and I do like that album a lot. And the band was famously not very happy with the final product because they recorded it in 5 days, and you know, the engineer, they did the mix that they did, and they were just like inexperienced. They didn't really know what they were doing at the time. And it was just like one of those things. They've since actually re-released it and remastered it. It just came out this year. It's fantastic. Ultra copacetic. Go pick it up. Listen to it. It's wonderful. A lot of John Peel session stuff too ended up on there. It's a treasure trove, and I love it. But this album hit after that. So they took a year and kind of regrouped, and they were huge tours, so they played constantly, and they really, really upped their game between albums. Also, lead singer Sarah Shannon really found her voice, and in this one, they really wanted to make sure that her vocals were kind of more front and center than they were in the previous record. So they hired fucking wonderful mega producer John Porter, and if you don't know who that is, he produced Roxy Music's first record, pretty much helped the Smiths define who they were. Ended up working with B.B. King, John Lee Hooker, and Something Blue. They produced their album, and if you're into like late 80s new wave-ish, it's actually really good. I highly recommend it. And his job was to kind of help them clear out a lot of it and fine-tune everything. And what they churn out is just wonderful indie pop from 1994 I remember the first song I ever heard. This is the first time I ever heard from this band. It was Sorry Again. I watched it on 120 minutes because I was up on the weekend, because it's just how I was when I was a teenager. And I used to live for finding new music. And as soon as I heard that song, I'm like, I need to find out more about this band. That is one of the catchiest goddamn songs I ever heard. And went downtown, bought the record, played it to hell. Also, you're all welcome for me bringing the shortest record in the entire thing. So you're welcome for that. And front to back, this is just, I think one of the reviews I read in doing my research said this was like the closest America has come to Britpop, and I believe it. And
I can see that. Yeah.
The noise is all but stripped away. Even like the distortion is a lot cleaner. Sarah, and then they bring in guitar player Archie Moore, helps a little bit more, and they really solidify the vocals. They do a great job because they bounce off so well on each other. All the songs are a lot, like the hooks are a lot, they're really tight on this one, as opposed to the last one where it was like they kind of drowned off a lot. There was just some weird, like, experimental stuff. It got compared a lot to like My Bloody Valentine and the Cockatoo Twins, which is fine. I love that kind of stuff. And I know Magnet Magazine, I think, listed their last album as like one of the 75 lost forgotten classics, which is fine. It's good, but I actually think this is the better of their 3 albums that they put out. And just so many good songs, and everything is catchy. And then the lyrics this time around, they really are a lot more focused, and you can hear a lot of them. Like, it's the pains of kind of coming into adulthood and growing up, and it really churns through. And a lot of like, am I even ready for this? And I think one of the better examples is Rubble, of the metaphor of like, I'm trying to pave this road for you, but I know you'll just break it up and leave nothing but debris in my way. Like, why should we work on this? And it's just like really striking. And if you can track it down, I'm sure it's on there. They did a video for I Can't Stop Smiling. It was like one of Spike Jonze's earliest music videos directed. And of course, he did exactly what you think he did with something like that. It's just absolutely adorable. It is like definitely the cutesiest song on the entire record. I love this album so much, and I love showing it to people. And yeah, it is just super good fun. Takes me right back to that. Yeah, so I'm going to stop droning on and on. I'll let everyone else kind of get to it. So,
all right, who wants to start?
Has anybody listened to this album before?
Yeah,
God.
There you go. Well, at least one of the hosts did it.
Remember,
I kind of
third
figured.
host,
Yeah,
apparently, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Rue, we need to have you on more often.
Hey, you know I love coming here.
Yeah, I know you do.
So, Rue, how much you hate this one?
You might want to take your headphones off.
No, go.
That's what
please.
you might want
Please.
to do. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. No, just no. I'm so sorry, but I heard this and I was like, okay, this sounds like the Oneaters from That Thing You Do, but they were whitewashed, watered down, and then moved over to the American Pie soundtrack. I needed this to be over. I'm so sorry. It all sounded all the same. I don't like the beats. I don't think they can sing. I was just sitting there like, this is not for. I don't like Britpop apparently.
Yeah,
at all. Oh, I was sitting here just like, y'all, can we get this over with, please? I'm gonna just leave it at that. Like the churches, I found nothing in this bill. I'm so sorry. I was just sitting there like, I don't need to get back to that 90s. Like, part of it is this like 3 Non Blondes and Counting Crows put together and just smashed.
Oh my God, so much better than either of those bands, please.
Isn't there 4 non-blondes?
I'm sorry, Sarah Shannon has the voice of an angel. We will disagree on that. So
I will go take your take on that, better than mine, because again, not my genre, so you know much better than I do. But as soon as it was done, I was like, I'm sorry, Bill. Sorry.
Well, at least it was only 30 minutes. So
yes, not doing this again. Ripping that off. Do you, sir? I love that you love this album.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
Rue. Well, I'm glad we have you
Okay.
on here because I disagree with you. I had a really good time. You mentioned Britpop, and I was like, yeah, I get that. But honestly, to be honest with you, the first 3 people, I guess, that kind of came to mind were the Go-Go's. Reminds me a lot of Go-Go's. Reminds me a lot of Blondie.
Yep.
And Andrew was kind of talking. We were talking about it like beforehand. But July Talk. Just that duality of female and male vocals, I think does really well. I think there's some like really kind of neat things here. Hey, You Get Off My Moon is a nice little kind of like slow down, more of a ballady thing to end it on an instrumental. Wake Up, I'm Leaving, which is just like
2 in a row
guitar.
for me.
Yeah, it's another great closer. The what is it? Oh, The All Consumer has this kind of like little love letter to like 50s kind of rock and whatnot. My gripe though, and this is a very picky, pretentious bassist player kind of gripe. The bass player only knows one strum, and he is either speeding up that strum or slowing it down. It's that same dum 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 dum. Like you can hear him go down and then up, and you just hear that same thing, and it's like that's why I don't listen to like The Cure and like The Smith as much, because they kind of do the same thing. I admired the instrumentation and a lot of the guitar solo.
Correct.
Yeah, but just as from a bassist standpoint, that drove me insane, because I was like, you guys are a good band. You can do a different kind of thing, and they get there. But the first half is just kind of like, all right, let's get into the new kind of rhythms and stuff that kind of make this album so great.
I want to go to Rae next for this one because I'm super interested to hear her thoughts on this.
Oof. I thought it was good. Like, it reminded me so much of 10 Things I Hate About You, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I didn't love it. I don't think it's horrible. Like, I think it's just good. They were good. I wasn't a big fan of the lead girl's vocals, but that's also because I'm always comparing myself to other people of like, she got the record deal and I didn't, blah, blah, blah. But I really liked what they were trying to do, like finding their sound. I think that they succeeded in breaking out of the mold and finding their sound and their place. I will say that, especially after that history lesson. So good on them. Although, like it's not something that I would seek out again. However, it's not bad. It's not bad art at all.
Bar, how much you hate this one?
Bill, I really like this album a lot.
Oh, okay.
So here's what I'll say about it. It's not an album where I feel like I could listen to any song individually by itself, but it's an album where I feel like I have to listen to the whole thing as an album experience. And I do really love albums like that, where you cannot separate one song from the other ones, but everything works as a beautiful, cohesive piece. The acts that came to my mind immediately, and Brooklyn talked about one of them, was July Talk, but the other ones that came to my mind right away were Garbage, Gin Blossoms, and REM. Like, you brought up the fact that they're from like Washington, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And then the sound feels like a band that's been all over the country, just picking little pieces from all of the music scenes that they've been a part of. Because I can hear the Maryland scene in that. I can hear the Washington. I can hear a lot of like Athens, Georgia, where like REM and B-52s got like their start. And I just really found myself enjoying it. It's the perfect length. And I love the melancholic ending of that instrumental. I thought it was just a beautiful guitar tone that they set for that melody. And I thought it was just like a brilliant way to end that album. So this is one as I said, I don't know if I would be able to listen to any song individually by itself, but I have to listen to the whole thing, and I would happily do that. This is one where I feel like I might buy the vinyl for if I get the chance. And if I see it like at a record shop, exactly. Exactly.
I do still own the original CD I bought in 1994, so it's been beat to hell and it skips a lot, but I still got it in storage somewhere. So,
and it's on Bandcamp, which is Something I was not expecting.
Also, funny enough, just to piss off Rue a little more, the poster for this album can actually be spotted in the basement in the film I Saw the TV Glow. And,
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
You knew where to hit me. You knew where to
yeah,
hit
I'm
me.
sorry, man. You're already off the boat. It's fine. So you're not on board at all. It's totally okay. But yeah, so that's actually one of the posters, and I'm like, that fits those kids perfectly. Like, I feel like they would absolutely own that record, no problem. So,
all right, Bill. Well, what would you give it, and what's your favorite and least favorite song from this?
I mean, this is anywhere in my top 5 all time. So I'm gonna give it a pretty much perfect score. That's just me. There's picking a favorite's hard. I'd almost go Sorry Again, only because one, it's the first one I ever heard. 2, it's their most recognizable song. But if I wanted to go like, hey, sum this up a little for me, like give me the song that would do it, I would think The All Consumer is the song to do it with, especially because more songs need to sneak in flutes and organs, just like subtly. I think that would be great, and it does a wonderful job. Just ending on a flute is just very nice. I think the one I'd say is my least favorite, only because of where it's placed. I think it's like, Hey, You Get Off My Moon, only because it's in a weird spot. I feel like if it would have ended with Things You Should Know, Get Off My Moon, and then Wake Up, I'm Leaving, I think that would be the perfect 1, 2, 3 out. But other than that, no, like I love this album. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't apologize, because I'm giving this an 8.5.
Oh, wow.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, as I said, this album works so well as a whole album experience. It's kind of the opposite of Not For Sale, where there's like individual songs from that I like more than the whole, but I like the whole. My favorite song is Rebel. The lyricism on that is just really sharp, and it's really good. It really stands out. Picking a least was hard. I went with Tripping Wires, just because it's the one that I can't remember anything about that song more than
I
the
always
other
like the
ones.
line, I never like boys prettier than me. That always sticks out for me for Tripping Wires. It's just that's a great phrase. So
let's go to Rae next.
I really liked the Sorry Again. I think that's their catchiest song on the album. Smart choice to make it the first one. And then the one that I didn't like the most, I think, was The All Consumer. And just like yeah, okay. But overall, I give this a 6.5 out of 10.
I'll take it.
Rue?
So is it in a positive number, or is it like -4?
It is not. It's not -4. It's +4. I give you that.
All right,
it's a
now
4 out of
that's better
10.
than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It's not. So as much as I crapped on it, again, it's not something where I'm like, don't ever listen to this again. I don't know if I gave it a higher score than Jake's pick for Madonna. I would listen to this.
I don't think you
Madonna.
did. I think you gave it like a 3 something.
Okay, yeah, because Ray of Light was cool.
Bad.
Man. So like, but this is it's a combination of everything that I don't listen to. But for me, I'm with you. Hey, You Get Off My Moon. Also for the weird placement. And I actually really like the instrumental of Wake Up, I'm Leaving. So Wake Up, I'm Leaving. It's not because it's the last song, but I actually heard it and I was like, ooh, I like this instrumental and instrumentation a lot. So that's
And Brooklyn.
Well, yeah, I guess I can dot one. Yeah, I guess Andrew. I'll raise my rating to an 8.6. I think this is a perfect like Saturday morning kind of album where it's like, hey, if we're going to the farmer's market, we're doing some running around. Like, let's just play this as we kind of travel everywhere. My favorite is actually going to be Drug Girls. I really like the chord progression, especially the tension that gets built up in the chorus. I'm also a sucker. I was trying to think of it as we were going through scores, but Ray might be able to help me with this. They're in the key of E, and then they play the D at random times. It's because it's like the same thing like whenever you're playing a G and it goes into F. It's not the seventh. It's like from a theory perspective.
I have to know what key it's in.
So Drug Girls is in the key of E, but then they throw in the D chord, which isn't normally in that
That's the seventh.
in that family. Yeah. Then it is seventh. Yeah, I like when songs do that. It just kind of makes things a little bit different. My least favorite, actually, Andrew already alluded to it earlier, Tripping Wires, but I do know why. The guitar is needlessly messy. They're throwing in like sevenths, add nines, sort of stuff. Like they're like, if that guitar I think was clean, like it is in the chorus for the most part, I think it would do much better. But just like the weird add-ons that he's putting on top of the effect, just this doesn't sit right.
Okay, so with that, we're gonna go to Rae's album. Rae, tell us why you brought Greatest Hits Volume 1 by James Taylor.
Because it was what I was listening to in the moment you asked me to pick a song or an album. I listened to
Honestly,
a bunch
the
of
best
stuff.
reason I've ever heard.
Yeah, like I don't know. I listened to a bunch of stuff. I happened to be listening to James Taylor a lot in that moment. I love James Taylor. I think my favorite thing about this album was like you can make the argument a lot of his songs sound the same. He'll put you to sleep. He's like a cup of tea, but I do think that he is a little bit of a badass when it comes to like again throwing in those rhythm and blues, those seventh chords. Like sometimes he does really cool things with the melody that you wouldn't expect a normal country guy to do. So he kind of keeps you on your toes. But I really like him, and I think the coolest thing about him was that he was discovered by Paul McCartney and the record label when they broke away from the Beatles, and I think that's just awesome that James Taylor is one of the first artists that they signed and was like, "Go forth, my child." So yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do something, and I'm gonna make somebody start because I know their opinion on this kind of music. Rue, what are your thoughts on this one?
I haven't heard this album before, by the way.
Oh,
If
I have,
anybody
by
else.
the way. I actually have heard this album before.
I have not, but I heard most of these songs already. Yeah.
So that was part of it going into it, is that there are good 2 or 3 songs. I was like, oh, okay, this is the guy who did this song. I've heard the song a whole bunch. It reminded me a lot of Cat Stevens, Father and Son. The vibe.
The only good Cat Stevens song. Gotcha.
Hey, but I really enjoyed this. It was starting off like, okay, cool. But again, I started hearing the rhythm and blues and that kind of influence in it. I weirdly, maybe not even weirdly, I really like his voice and his tone. And the music selection has a lot of soul. Like him being able to do a cover of How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You, like nothing is Marvin Gaye, but I was like, this is really, really dope anyway. And something in the way she moves. I think this is the 3rd version I've heard now. Right?
No,
Yeah.
this is different song.
Different song. Okay, it reminded me of that because we
It
talked
does.
about that last time
like,
anyway.
Yeah, we have talked about Something by the Beatles.
Yeah, and Music Soul Child. So I was just like, oh, it's similar. But like Fire and Rain, like I've heard that song a million times and figuring out that this is the guy who did it. Absolutely love it. I really, really enjoyed it. And then he ended that off with a banger in the live version of Steamroller. Like I will tell you that like hearing him live kind of retroactively just lifted every other song I heard before it. Just to kind of again just re-emphasize the soul that went into it. His very unique tone of voice, the use of guitar, and just everything that he put into it. Again, hearing songs I've never heard interspersed between songs I really, really like and heard a lot growing up. I really enjoyed this.
Okay, open floor. All right, I go. Yeah, I love James Taylor. This is a man who, like, you can clearly hear his deep appreciation just for music in general. He's also just one of the best songwriters, like, ever. like one of my favorite verses of all time is the third verse on Fire and Rain, where it's like where was
Is that
it?
the Sweet Dreams and Flying Machines and
Yeah,
Pieces
that's
on the
Sweet
Ground?
Dreams and Flying Machines and Pieces on the Ground, referencing the band that he used to be a part of just absolutely disintegrating. The other line from that verse that just always chills me is here it is. My been walking my mind to an easy time, my back turned towards the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it'll turn your head around. It's just like the visuals of that are just so beautiful. Interesting thing about this album I found while I was researching it, the first two songs, this goes in chronological order of when they were released in his career. The first two songs were actually remade for the purpose of this greatest hits album. They sound nothing like their original versions. And for one of them, it works so much better than the original version. The other version, I actually like better than this version, which is so weird that it flipped like that for me. One of them being my favorite song of the album, the other one being Something in the Way She Moves. Something in the Way She Moves, I just think I like the original version better. And I also, when it comes to a greatest hits album, the sequence of it is important to me. And I understand why it's in this sequence. I just think that this version of Something in the Way She Moves was not the right song to open this album with. But yeah, that you've got so many great songs like You've Got a Friend, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. Mexico is the island country song that so many modern country artists have been chasing and trying to replicate and absolutely failing to do so for years. So I kind of have a grudge against that one. But yeah, no, he's just got such a warm, welcoming voice that it's just when you pair it with how amazing he is as a lyricist and just as a songwriter in general. Yeah, there's a reason that this is one of the best-selling albums of all time.
I'll go next. James Taylor is probably one of my most influential guitar players. Like I try to mimic a lot of my sound off of him. When I've been playing guitar, I'm notoriously bad for leaving picks on like the coffee table or like everywhere. So I was left using my fingers, and I got better at playing with my fingers. And James does the really cool thing of like hitting the root note and then kind of like accenting it like on Carolina on my mind, like, ain't he just like a friend of mine that hit me from behind? And just I really like that sound and that strum and that rhythm and whatnot. Carolina on my mind is a really, really cool one that just kind of like you're kind of just like staring off into something else that could have been. You know who really likes this sound and didn't really use it until later when he got sober? Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton loves the shit out of this sound, in particular in You've Got a Friend and Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight. I also think that like You've Got a Friend reminds you a lot of like Karen Carpenter and that like ballady, like or even like Anne Murray to kind of give it a Canadian tie as well. But yeah, Fire and Rain is one of the best intros on an acoustic guitar. It's just very pretty. I'll echo the point that Andrew is making. Mexico is probably his most underrated song. It's the best Jimmy Buffett song that Jimmy Buffett didn't write. But what are some other
song that
ones?
Kenny Chesney's been trying to write for his entire career?
Yeah. So when this album got selected and I was going through it, I was like, all right, I'm not sure if there's like anything here about the arrangement. And then Andrew mentioned how it's released in chronological order. And then, I agree with Rue as well that Steamroller is probably the best closer. That like very like blues heavy, like the piano in it and whatnot. I'll save Why I Like My Favorite song for when we get to that part, because there is kind of like a sweet kind of story with it. What else? Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, Bill.
Pass.
Oh no. Okay.
I got to be the Rue this round. This is not my thing. It never was. Unlike the rest of you, I was born in the 70s. I was immersed in this kind of stuff. I could wait to form opinions. So, that having been said, James Taylor's fine. He's never been somebody I've been big on, to be clear. It's just not the kind of. Also, my favorite band has a song about farts. My opinion should just kind of like be factored in, knowing that going in advance here. So it's whatever. I will say, funny enough, Rue mentioned he's like, oh my god, he did like How Sweet It Is. That's the thing I like the least. I'm like, you're not Marvin Gaye. What are you doing? What are we doing here? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It was like, you know what it was like? Soul Asylum. Soul Asylum did a cover of Sexual Healing in the 90s.
I forgot about that.
And it was an affront. And I'm like, how could you do that?
This isn't that bad. This isn't on that level.
It's not on that level, but I'm just saying, certain artists, you should just leave them to do it. Marvin Gaye is one of those artists, like, baby, don't fuck with that. Maybe it's like when people come, we will rock you. Don't. You're what are you doing? What are we doing here? That having been said, there are some songs in here I forgot about that I was like, you know what? Some of these are pretty enjoyable. Maybe I'm just softening in my old age. Probably. But yeah, a lot of these were actually a pleasant surprise, but overall, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. But I saw James Taylor. There's that old punk kid brain of mine going, okay. So
I do want to add one. Oh, sorry.
It's fine. I'm done. It's cool.
No, I do want to add one thing. If you happen to listen to these songs like I do, I'll just throw them on the TV and then they have the artist kind of picture. James Taylor just kind of has that fist to the chin, kind of like almost like looking at you directly to kind of see what your immediate thoughts are on the song. And after about 3 songs, like, all right, we're gonna switch over to dark mode. I don't need James Taylor staring at me and wondering. Yeah, exactly like what Andrew's doing.
That's a photographer's trick to hide the double chin. That's why they do that.
Yeah.
I know that because they do it in all my photos now.
Oh my god. Okay. Let's wrap this one up. Rae, your score, your favorite song, your least favorite song.
I love this album. I give it a 10 out of 10. My least favorite song, I skip it every time, is How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You.
Wow.
Sorry, I skip
Thank you, lady I just met. Thank you.
Yes. I have heard enough of that. Skip, please. However, one of the reasons why I give it a 10 out of 10, and this is really important to me, is that he actually sounds exactly the same on the record as he does live. And artists today do not do that. That is just such a wonderful quality that I admire about him. I think I'm going to say my favorite song is Sweet Baby James.
Okay. I'm going to go next because my least favorite song is Sweet Baby James.
Well, go fuck yourself.
You've told me that multiple times, though. You have no effect on me now.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just the one that, I don't know. I love country music, and I don't know. I just could not connect to that one. There was just something about it. I could not place what it was, but it just felt the most meh. My favorite song, first of all, shout out to Fire and Rain. It's one of the greatest songs ever made. As I said, one of my favorite verses of all time. But the more and more I hear this version of Carolina in my mind, the more and more that one just hits me on an emotional level. I've always taken that song as somebody on their deathbed in their last moments, and Carolina being heaven for them. And every time I hear it, and I just visualize it, and I feel it more and more, and the emotion behind it. It's one of my all-time favorite songs, ever. And the album as a whole, I'm feeling a 7.8. It's very good. I think it has its weak spots, though. But it's a greatest hits album, so there's going to be moments like that. Let's go to Bill next.
Yeah, I kind of figured. Well, we know what my least favorite was. It's fine. So sorry. I'd like to apologize to the estate of Marvin Gaye.
That's okay. They tried to get Ed Sheeran's money. They got Robin Thicke's money. They don't need.
I'm just saying, we're sorry. I'm sorry. I would give this a 5. It's not bad. It's not great. It's right in the middle for me. I think this might be one of those that maybe I'll start to appreciate. I finally learned to like an Elton John song in the year of our Lord 2024. I fucking hate Elton John. So weirder shit has happened. So sorry. I don't like pianos in my music constantly.
I forgot about that fact.
Yeah, you should be around. The only thing I hate more than Billy Joel's when people actively enjoy it in front of me. So anyway, a little bit about me as a person. All that out of the way. My favorite, Shower the People. I actually forgot. That's a really great song. And I think that's the one I played the most going through this album again and again. I actually think that's a really underrated gem. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Brooklyn.
So this is a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's a greatest hits, but every reason that I mentioned earlier, like very influential on my style of guitar. So everything kind of hits in things that I like about music. I'll start with my least favorite. My least favorite is Something in the Way She Moves. Because when I hear that song, it makes me want to listen to Fire and Rain. It's in the exact same key. Like he has guitar on Capo 3, and he does the same sort of trills that he does in Fire and Rain. Like when he plays the A chord, he does like the da-da-da and da-da, and when he plays the D, like the same sort of thing. And it's like, I just want to listen to Fire and Rain. My favorite song is How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. And I'll tell you why. When my son was born, I was trying to find, when I was just staring at him, I was trying to find the words or the song to kind of match the emotion that I had. And I got to that song, and it's with sweet love and devotion, and deeply touching my emotion. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. It's a very sentimental suite. It's actually, Todd McLean that we had on before here, their band covers his song every time, and it's great. The Marvin Gaye song, the Marvin Gaye original is good as well. But I have an appreciation for the cover, and I'll die on that hill.
All right, Rue, close it out for this one.
I'm giving this a solid 8. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. I will say, like, it started off slower for me and then just got better and better. I thought my favorite song was going to be Fire and Rain. And then Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight was like, but then Steamroller hit. And I was just like, well, it's Steamroller Live. That man was going in. And I was like, damn, you are like, it made me think, because I don't know what James Taylor looked like. I was like, is this a Bobby Caldwell situation? But in reverse, this is a black man and not a white man. I don't know. I need to look this man up real quick. And then I was like, okay, cool. No, it is not the reverse of Bobby Caldwell. I will say not my least favorite is the least one I like the least, not the one I like. Carolina on my mind. Again, it just like, it was one that I was like, okay, cool, let's move on to the next one. It just had the bad luck of being right behind Fire and Rain. Like, I heard that, I was like, okay, that's cool. I heard Fire and Rain, I was like, oh, this is James Taylor. Okay. So that was the one that was just like I had to pick one. I was like, yeah, come on.
Okay, Rue, break my heart. It's your turn. Talk about Lupe Fiasco's The Cool by Lupe Fiasco.
So I also did ask everybody, even though it's already a long ass album, to do just a slight bit of homework, because Lupe Fiasco's The Cool is a concept album that is based off of his song called The Cool on his debut album, Food and Liquor. And what The Cool is, it is the story of a hustler named My Cool Young History, who was shot, and he dug himself up out of his own grave and walked back to his old hood, right back to the spot where he got shot. And this album takes that and extrapolates it into a whole concept album that I have probably heard and listened to more than anything else I have ever listened to ever. I consider this to be the second greatest hip hop album of all time, behind Illmatic. And it is a almost no skip album from front to back. I'm not including Aisha Jaco's poetry at the beginning, just because that's how he introduces all his albums, with her sister's poetry, and I don't listen to that on repeat. But what I really enjoyed bringing this back up is that I did not have Free Chili, the basic like intro of Sarah Green and Gemstones singing about Lupe Fiasco's business partner, Chill, who got put in jail for 40-something years. Luckily, he got out on parole, so he's out now. But that whole intro of "we can break down those walls to set you free, we would, because we out here and we miss you." I put that back on. I was like, oh my, it sets the tone for the entire album of the sound you're going to get to, the soul you're going to get. And I just think it's utter brilliance. Like, again, going into, it is everything you want in a hip hop album. So again, the concept from the coolest to the literal personification of the streets, the personification of the game, the actual, you hear the death of My Cool Young History, and when it happens in the little skit at the end, it's the cool that's playing in the background from his original album, and then everything in between. You're like, all right, how are you gonna have a concept album but like still make it feel like one cohesive album with every song not hitting that? And it, again, the sound that the producer soundtrack makes is like it's a dark boom bap, like just flow throughout the whole thing in every single type of hip hop song you can imagine. So you got the songs for the ladies in Paris, Tokyo, which I think is one of the best songs about love in hip hop I've heard, to the one song that might be out of place, but it's a good capper in Go Baby. Anytime that my wife is doing anything, like if she's running, I hit Go Baby, whoop, whoop, Go Baby. That is my, like, I love that. To the slower songs that hit a little bit more emotionally, like Intruder Alert, Fighters, with one of my favorite collaborators of his, and Matthew Santos, who I love the way he brings just the aura to all the songs that he sings in this and Superstar. But with Fighters, it's kind of dedicated to his dad, who had just passed away right before that. To his most popular song ever, and I think is a mainstream song that has depth, in Superstar. You also have the super lyrical Lupe with Go Go Gadget Flow, with Dumb It Down, and probably not my favorite, but one of my favorite songs in the whole album that he's done, Gotta Eat. He does an entire song called Gotta Eat with nothing but fast food metaphors from front to back. And it's
Timberland
like,
and Justin Timberlake wishes.
dude, like, how do you put that together? He has like what I call the rock section with Streets on Fire, Little Weapon, and Hello Goodbye, and then just the utter swagger you have on Gold Watch, that not only talks about just all the things that make him different and nerdy, but the things that like make you connect to a woman or make you connect to yourself. Like, as I was listening to this album again, I always was like, I love the concept with Put You On Game being one of the most menacing and fearful personifications of what it's like to be something I have never been in my life. Like, I'm not hood in one way, shape, or another, but I know the hood. I'm hood adjacent. I've like seen people and I know it. And the first time I ever heard that, I was like, oh shit. Like, just straight up. No, I'm glad your daddy gone, baby. I hope he never comes back. I hope your mother's with the hustlers high in my trap with the baby in the. It's just, it is so raw. But when I listened to it front to back again this time, I was like, wow, every aspect of this album is some aspect of life as somebody from the hood. Whether it's success in Paris, Tokyo, success in the story of how hip hop saved my life and Hip Hop Saved My Life, which is actually basically a song he made about Slim Thug from Houston. It's based off of his story. To again, Paris, Tokyo, When You Find That Love, who does the things with you, to Streets on Fire being a eerily forethought of what COVID might have been like, or what, but like taking that as saying that's what the streets will do to you. Where the rich say it's the poor, the poor say that the government is part of it. And then like what I love about stuff like that is how every one of his verses always connects to another, with Streets on Fire being the perfect personification of that. Where in the first verse, it's all the boys said it's the girls, and then the second time it comes around, he said all the little boys wonder what happened to all the girls. Just little things like that. I think lyrically, Lupe Fiasco is one of the most talented rappers ever. And one thing I really miss is that I don't listen to him as much anymore, because a lot of his stuff goes so in depth that he forgets about listenability, and he forgets about how much you want to re-listen to somebody and not just go super into the double, triple entendres and different rhyme schemes and different metaphors and similes here and there and up and down. And you're like, this is dope, but the beat doesn't match, and I can't listen to this again. But I love what you're doing. This is the epitome of absolute lyricism. Every single hip hop aspect of hip hop you want, where it's just swagger, it's love songs, it's chill ones, it's stuff about the street, it's stuff about being nerds. And I think, aside from one song, which is my easily the least favorite, even then it's not bad. And I talked for about an hour and a half with Brooklyn about this album and how much I love it. And that's after topping Food and Liquor, his first album, which I also think is just a classic. So I love this album.
Lupe is one of my.
I have not heard this album before today.
Yeah, anybody heard this album?
I have heard this album before.
Okay. Lupe is one of my favorite writers, especially when it comes to storytelling and world building. When he does those two things, I think he's absolutely incredible. So, especially like his personification, like the way he describes the personifications of the street in the game, I think are just like really, really smart and well thought out. I love the opening of The Coolest, where you hear like the tombstone like opening. That's like the rock scrapes. It's such a great way to like set that up. And then, as I was saying, like the storytelling in songs like Hip Hop Saved My Life, Intruder Alert, Dumb It Down, I think was just like really, really smart. And like the way that he was balancing out like the vocals, where it's like you can tell it's like the other people saying these things. I will say though, sometimes when he goes for braggadocious, it doesn't always land for me. Because sometimes I think that the style starts to outweigh the substance in a way that starts to become a little distracting. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I talk about my least favorite song. And the other thing that I have is the production. Sometimes it's the most amazing sounding production. Like it's epic, it's sweeping, it's beautiful, especially on which one was it? It was Streets on Fire. Like the production on that is just absolutely incredible. And then sometimes the production kind of pushes itself a little bit too forward, where I can't quite make out what Lupe's saying. I did look at the production, like the list of producers before I listened to the album, and I saw Patrick Stump of Fall Out Boy listed as one of them.
Little Weapon.
Honestly, when I realized which song it was, it made a lot more sense. I thought for sure that he had produced Hello Goodbye, because I was like, that sounds like Fall Out Boy to me. That sounds like modern Fall Out Boy. But yeah, I think that this is a really great album. Lupe is just one of the smartest writers in the game. And as I said, when this song hits, it hits you in the face like a brick in a punching glove.
I've listened to this album before whenever we had Rue on for Setlist. It is a long album. There is a lot to ingest. So I guess in the context of this show, where we're listening to these once. Usually, like, we try to get these twice through. I think even after that second one, it's like I need to listen to like a third time, just try to get like every little detail in the concept. But I really dug it. There's like 1.5 songs that are skippable. Everything else is incredible. I really like anytime Matthew Santos pops up. Superstar is a really good one. There are some songs in here that also highlight different aspects of the drum kit. Little Weapon is that very like drum line, like snare, like that kind of snap to it. Streets on Fire does a really good job of kind of emphasizing like I guess it'd be like the splash or the ride. I really like the cymbals in that one as well. Gold Watch, I really like the sample in that one. We haven't even mentioned that like Snoop Dogg pops on this album for a little bit. How he's used in the chorus is kind of like but I really like his verse. I think Lupe kind of forces him to kind of like up his game in terms of rhythm and whatnot. Andrew was mentioning Patrick Stump as a producer because I listened to the album a bunch and then went to see if there's any details. Saw Patrick Stump. A name I did not expect to see on this as well is Josh Homme, who is the frontman for Queens of Stone Age, and we were talking about 2 shows ago with them Crooked Vultures. You really hear his sound on one song in particular, which I will get into afterwards. But yeah, what were the other things that I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, the opener with Baba Says Cool for Thought. There are a bunch of different ways you can kind of open an album, and I like that that spoken word to kind of like get you into the atmosphere, because there are other times where bands are kind of like, all right, we'll do like just kind of the sound that everyone knows us for, and then kind of devolve. This is kind of a great, like, I always get these ones mixed up, prologue, epilogue. This is it's a prologue. Yeah.
Prologue's before,
Prologue?
epilogue is
Yes.
after.
Yes.
Yeah. This is also not the first time that we've talked about the Gemstones. They have popped up before. I think it was also with
So Gemstones is the guy. It's actually one singer. His name was Gemini before, and he got into legal trouble. So this might not be the same person. It's one person.
Oh.
It's a rapper / singer. That's who Gemstones is. He's the guy who is rapping alongside Lupe and Dumb It Down in the choruses.
Yes.
He's a singer and a rapper. So.
Okay. But yeah, no, there is definitely like that like rocky kind of section. From like Gold Watch to like Hello Goodbye. Paris. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention, Paris Tokyo is the perfect like skateboarding compilation song where it's like, hey, I've been on the streets and I have these like really cool like tricks and spots. What's a perfect like mellow kind of background song to have on here? Paris Tokyo. It's perfect. I like the piano in it and whatnot.
I gotta time out. Lupe already has that song with Kick Push. That song already exists.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's it.
Cool. Let me tell you why this album's dog shit. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if I was like
Ridiculous.
that? I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
No. I haven't really listened to a lot of Lupe. I've heard some stuff here and there. So this is the first straight through album I've heard. And while my biggest gripe is it really, really is a long album.
It is.
It is. I was, for the most part, enjoyed the ride. I really did.
Guess you didn't have to listen to the bonus track I got in my Circus City copy called Blackout. There's an extra song because I bought this album in Circuit City and they had a bonus track. So you didn't have to listen to that.
Yeah, I will say the only time it really felt long, with one song in particular that I will get to, but for the most part, towards the end, I think just because the last 2 or 3, it's just by that point, I'm like, I've been here an hour now. But wrap it up, B. But it's fine. Like hearing all the context for it, it really contextualizes it a lot better. I think that's one of those ones I'm just gonna have to go back through again and again, and I think I'll probably pick up on a lot more. That having been said, there's just some songs in here that just blew me away. I'm like, okay, this guy's worth every bit of the hype that he gets. I don't know if I would say in my top 10 all time albums in hip hop, but it would definitely be top 20. Like this is probably will go up on further re-listens, but yeah, this was an absolute delight to kind of just be given. And thank you, really. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Yeah, as a songwriter, the basically like the thing that all of my teachers say at the end of a song, at the end of an album is, does the audience know who you are? Do they get your soul, or are you just singing fluff for fluff's sake? And after listening to the first song, I was like, "Oh, I understand who you are. I get where you're coming from. I get your character, I get your world, I get your heart." And so that for me like solidified him as a lyricist. I think he is really great at making again connecting with his audience, which is very rare. I What was I going to say? Shoot. This is someone who I'm not big on rappers. I'm not very familiar with rappers, so I felt really bad. I've heard Superstar because I was on the radio. I heard Paris and Tokyo. I didn't know it was him, and I wasn't very familiar with his work. But this is definitely someone who, me as a songwriter, I'm going to go back and re-listen to and study his work, because it's very clear that he puts so much thought and detail into even the littlest word as he's constructing this world that he's painting. I did like the start of the album. I thought that was so cool. Just like starting a movie. By the end of the album, I did feel like I just watched an action movie where I was just like, oh my gosh, it was a lot. Like it was just like a roller coaster. So that was like a little like that was very exciting, but at the end I was like, I think I need a nap. But
I can see that 100%.
right. But like, honestly, I really enjoyed it. I think he's great. Again, I think he's going to be one of those people where I go back and I actually study as a songwriter and just understand like how he does what he does with such elegancy. And when it comes to musicality, I really, really like how he introduces like synth and violins, and every song was different, which I so appreciate. Like all of the songs had their own little thing, and they all didn't sound like one producer or like one overall concept, which I really appreciated. So yeah, this was a good one for me.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the album. Because like I said, he has a producer that he uses for a lot of albums front to back. Soundtrack is his guy through this one and through Food and Liquor. And while it's a concept album that I love listening to front and back, again, anytime one song comes on, I'm listening to it on repeat, like at least 2-3 times before I move on to the next one. What I really love about this album is that, like, I brought Common's B on here, and B for me, it's similar where I can listen to all of them individually, but more so if I listen to one song on B, I'm like, all right, I need to play that front to back. It's only like 50 minutes, 40 minutes is real quick, but this one, I can listen to any one song at any point and just I'm jamming like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any last thoughts on this one before we wrap this up?
No.
All right. Cool. So, Rue, give us your score, your favorite, your least favorite.
So I'll start with this. It is really, really, really hard to pick a favorite song on this album for me. There are times where it's Gold Watch. There are times when it's Put You On Game. I took about 3 or 4 days to memorize every single word in the Die because I had to, and I can rap it front to back, and I absolutely love it. And there are times where it's just a whole bunch of different songs, but the one I probably go back to the most is Paris Tokyo. I just love how smooth Paris Tokyo is. And again, it kind of like a lot of rappers nowadays do songs for the ladies. This is how you do it without like becoming a meme of yourself. And this is very much him in a nutshell. It's me in a nutshell. The coolest nerd you'll ever find in your life. Like, that's what I like to like claim. And I think the heart in it, like when he's telling how all the places he visited, all the people saying what up to the lady he has in his passport, it makes my heart feel. So I always go back to that as my favorite off of this. The score I give it is a 9.9, which is technically lower than other albums I've brought here, but I still consider it a better album because, damn it, High Definition brings this shit to a fucking halt. Oh my God. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's the one. 100% without question. That is the one that feels like it should be on Lasers, which is the album everybody's like, this is the album that the studio told you to do. It is not a bad song, but it does not fit into this album to me one bit, because at least Go Baby is the cat. He even introduces, congratulations, lady, this next one's for you for Go Baby. So you're like ready to shift and end it. But High Definition, like, this Snoop is cool as hell, but this is just cool Snoop. This is not like great rapper Snoop. And the beat is real, just kind of flat. And the chorus from Pooh Bear is kind of just like, all right, this is cool. I'll listen to it. But if I'm ever skipping that one, it's High Definition without it.
Okay. Let's go to Brooklyn next.
So yeah, I'm gonna give this an 8.9. Like I said earlier, a little long in the tooth. But I think the lyrics in there are absolutely worth it. It's very dense and something that you can go back to multiple times. My favorite song on this is "Hello Goodbye" by Country Mile. This has Josh Homme written all over it. The drums on this are incredible. I was trying to find who does the drums on this song to give them love, but I couldn't find it out. So whoever you are, thank you. Like,
the other group on it is Uncle.
Oh, so it is okay. So I wasn't sure, but yeah, it's that very like punk rock sort of beat, almost like not quite a blast beat, but kind of close. The ending of it as well has Josh Homme written all over it. That like weird kind of guitar solo-esque sort of thing. My least favorite, I will give honorable mention to High Definition, because I do agree with you, Rue, in some aspect. But man, given how lyrically dense the rest of the album is, Go Go Gadget Flow can be skipped. It's fast for the sake of being fast. They just repeat. Yeah, they repeat stuff, and it's like, man, look at how fast I can go. Like a city front of it. Yeah, you just hear it. It's like, okay, you can do more. You can do more of this.
Okay, let's go to Rae.
My favorite song was Go Go Gadget Flow.
Oh, let's go.
I just thought that was such a banger. I was like, let me put this on my workout mix. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I give this an 8.5 out of 10. Loved it. And my least favorite, interestingly enough, so Gotta Eat. I listened to the lyrics. I love what he was doing in it, but that I think it's either a guitar or something. It's like
that string instrument, whatever he uses.
Whatever that is, that like just literally feels like a needle in my ear. I just don't like the timbre of that sound. And that's like literally the continuous riff throughout the song. Yeah. So I was just like, ooh, if they could just get rid of that, it would be fine. But because of that specific timbre, could not do it.
Okay, Bill.
So here's what's going to be real funny. Me and Rae have the same rating.
Nice.
At the same time, me and Brooklyn also have the same worst song.
Oh, man.
That song is super annoying. Like, if there's one thing, if I got to hear the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, it's going to wear on me. I got to hear, I think I counted, the word go was said 98 times. That's like, They don't say go that much in the movie Go. Like, it's a lot. It's just like, okay, I get it. And just, it bothers me for some reason. Also, yeah, no, Rue is right. The High Definition is super annoying. Like, 1-2 songs go off this album. My rank can probably go up a little bit. Also, the runtime is a lot, but help me clean the apartment. So I will say that. My favorite song is definitely, I'm going to say this right, Paris, Tokyo is absolutely it. You could take that album, slot it on Midnight Marauders, and it would not sound out of place in any way, shape, or form. And I mean that in the utmost like complimentary way possible. Like, it could have came right out of there and I would not have been surprised. So that's a perfect song. So yeah.
What was your score? I think I missed it.
8.5.
8.5. Okay, cool. I'm giving this an 8.4.
What you guys with these weird ass numbers? It's fucking halves or wholes. I'm gonna give mine an 8.352.
Yeah.
Like, fucking what is anything now? But anyway, go ahead.
Bill, I don't have an answer for you, actually.
Yeah,
I was going to have something smart, then I realized I was going to sound dumb. This is an 8.4. I love the world building, the storytelling, especially on Hip Hop Saved My Life. That one being my favorite. It's just like the vivid imagery that he's painting with like his choice of words and the storytelling is just so freaking good. And I love that chorus. It's just so nice. Yeah, Go Magic Flow can I hate it. I hated it. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Ray. That was my least favorite one. I remember hearing it and being like, wow, I hate this. So yeah, take that off. The score might go higher. All right. But with that being said, before I get crucified, that's pretty much it for all the albums today. Real quick, I'm going to ask for everybody to give me their favorite album that someone else brought. You can't pick your own album because that would be defeating the point. I'm going to start. My favorite album of the ones that were brought to the table today is Simpatico, Velocity Girl. I think that this is just the one that worked best as an album experience as a whole. So yeah, it just that one just worked for me. Brooklyn.
I'm gonna go with The Cool. I thought of all the albums today, this is the one that kind of fleshed out and tried to go for different sounds. And it's one that I will go back to because of how deep the lyrics are.
Let's go to Rae next.
CHVRCHES.
Nice.
That's my bit.
It was so good. I had to reuse it. That was very clever of you.
Let's go to Bill then.
Same, actually. Yeah, I actually really like this way more than I thought. It was real tight race between that and The Cool, but I'll probably be listening to both of those a lot. I downloaded all these albums, so but yeah, I think this was the bigger surprise for me. I think in how much I actually enjoyed it. So,
all right, Rue, close us off.
I mean, it's not a surprise. Sorry. James Taylor. Greatest Hits by James Taylor. I'll say this. I would probably listen to Kardinal more. But the better album and the one like I kind of try to balance it. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, James Taylor is a little higher for me than Not For Sale.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Big shout out, thank you to Bill, Amaru, and Ray for joining us today. I hope you all had fun. And join us next month. We don't have our panel just quite locked in yet. So it's going to be a surprise for y'all.
Do you know one of the guests?
Not yet.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
if it was Rue, you missed the last episode. I also brought a concept album. You'd probably fucking hate it. I actually would guarantee it. Nothing about Rue screams Husker Du fan. I'm just saying it right now.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I can see that. As good as I think that album is,
fuck, great album. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's fine.
Anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep on rocking.